Om Sadashivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Mujibeda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshimaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Page 280, beginning of that file. In analyzing the nature of the world, Gaudapada emphasized the fact that I, the Atma, am the substratum of the world. Ultimately, the understanding of myself is the most important thing, because samsara is centered on the dissatisfaction I have about myself. So he brings some hint of good psychology here, that the suffering begins from a sense of dissatisfaction about myself. Now, we could say low self-esteem, a sense of inadequacy or smallness, insufficiency. So I need to understand myself on a different level, because one may think that no, if I become a super jiva, and then I will have so much power, so much knowledge, so much money, so much this and this, and then I will be satisfied with myself. No, nobody is satisfied, no matter how much millions, billions, these multi-billionaires have. They are still suffering of samsara. They always need more and more and more and more. And then what is the way out? Well, is to understand what I am in reality, the substratum of the world. The scripture says, and I need to realize it. I am the adhisthanan. That's my intrinsic nature. I am pure, limitless, non-dual conscious existence. So unless I understand and I define myself properly as the substratum, the adhisthanan, I will always feel dissatisfaction about myself. So this is good psychology. Today I had a friend, a student, contact me with a lot of psychological problems. And as we know, Vedanta does not deal with psychology, but we present the ultimate psychology. But most people looking for psychology cannot understand those statements, such statements. You have to free yourself from all these psychological problems. You need to understand that you are not the complex body-mind. You're not the body-mind complex. And even if you make it very powerful and rich and full of knowledge and so on, you are going to remain unsatisfied. So this is the base of psychology, which is based on one sense of identity. One has to reexamine to understand what I am in reality, So I'm beyond satisfaction and dissatisfaction. I am just consciousness, the only reality. So samsara is centered on this sense of limitation, smallness, inadequacy, no satisfaction with myself, and therefore with the world gives me. The image and the assessment I have about myself produce dissatisfaction. The whole life is one of continuous bettering myself. So Vedanta is not against bettering, improving the body-mind-sense complex, as we know. Vedanta promotes it, so improve it, purify it, refine it with the help of Karma Yoga, and Upasana, living a religious, spiritual life in which you develop an understanding of your relationship with God. Yeah? So the improvement is necessary, but not in the mundane, materialistic way people believe, I cannot become better by gaining more things of this world. I become better by purifying, refine my body, mind, sense complex. And for that, I need to be a religious, spiritual seeker. No other way, no other way. So we are not against bettering, but not in this materialistic, mundane way, or even in a mere scientific way. People sometimes believe that if I get a lot of scientific knowledge, I'm going to feel really good about myself. No, it doesn't happen. More you know scientific knowledge, more you understand your ignorance in respect to the science of this universe. So we try to improve our self-image, and self-image needs to be improved a little bit. I try to help my student today talking a little bit about that. Self-image needs to be improved, but not in the way we imagine, but just in the way of stopping trying to be a better ego, and direct your attention to God. Try to understand your relationship with God. Try to understand your parabada karma, and then surely one gradually, unnoticeably purifies and grows, and then the sense, the self-image one has to oneself becomes something so irrelevant, because we are resolving everything in the Lord, so that later on I can resolve everything in myself. So Vedanta attempts to help us change the perception that I have regards to my self-image. The teaching of Mithya world is to show that the entire world is Mithya. Then it requires a base, a substratum, a screen. The teaching of Mithya world presented by Gaudapada is that it is a superimposition of projection. And projection does not happen without a background. I am the base, I am the substratum, I am the background, which is a word which closely enough describes the meaning of adhisthana, the ground of existence, the ground of beingness, consciousness, the reflector. So we cannot experience this universe without having a base on which this universe appears. I am the base, I'm the foundation. Mithya cannot exist by itself once we understand the nature of Mithya, the nature of this world as Mithya world. And the scriptures say and present the logic to support it, that Mithya somehow as if it borrows existence from myself, a different source. The existence is in the background, it's on the screen, it's in the mirror-like reflector. That is what really exists. What exists is the screen in the cinema hall in which the images are dynamically projected. So the screen is the only reality, consciousness is the only reality, and the movie and the actors and all actions, they resolve themselves to the screen. And as the only reality, Gaudapada is stressing that this Mithya nature of the universe is exhorting us to see that we are the substratum of the entire universe. So when we talk about the purpose of this creation, it seems like it must have a purpose because it is so intelligently designed. And here Swami presents a beautiful passage here that Gaudapada is stressing the Mithya nature of the universe, that the mutual nature of the universe is exhorting us to see, to seek, to understand that we are the only reality, we are the base, the substratum, the adhistanam of this entire universe or cosmos. It can only be this purpose, because we're going to be experiencing a sense of dissatisfaction in regards to our apparent nature as body, mind, sense complex. We're going to keep experience that sense of dissatisfaction, and that limitation, that pain in the butt. It's not something natural to our real nature as limitless consciousness. So because we experience something that is unnatural to us, this Mithya universe is going to provoke us to look for something that feels natural to us. And what feels natural to us is realizing our nature. And the nature of something feels natural, and natural feels comfortable and easy because I'm not going against my nature. So it seems that that's the purpose of this external world, you know, to compel us to look for our nature. Mithya, Jagata, Adhistanam is the focus, and not Mithya Jagat by itself. So we are not interested in understanding the Mithya, but understand that the Mithya requires a substratum, a base, a ground. Once it is understood that I am the ground, the base, the adhistanam that supports the entire universe, I will no longer need support from things of this world, and not even support from God. So to focus on Mithyatva, the nature of Nitya, is to focus on consciousness, because Mithya, from the standpoint of Vedanta, is useless to try to understand. From the standpoint of the scientific community, the point is to understand this Mithya phenomenon. From the standpoint of Vedanta, we want to understand the adhisthana, the base, the support, the ground on which this projection occurs. So we all know what is this adhisthana. Adhisthana is Satya, the only reality. Secondly, all my interactions are supported by me, this ground of being, this base. I am not interacting with the world. All the interactions are between the Mithya body mind and the Mithya world. Nice, nicely put. I mean, I don't transact, I don't interact. So what are you doing then? I'm just allowing my body mind sense complex, which is Mithya, to interact with the Mithya environment in which I find myself as the body mind sense complex. I allow it to happen because it's natural to interact, to respond. We are designed to act, to respond. And Swami beautifully puts here, these interactions are natural and inevitable, and the consequences are always unknowable. And even when you believe you know the consequence, they are not under your control. So that's the situation the poor body mind complex finds himself or herself in. It's designed to inevitably respond to the stimulus coming from the field, and knowing that the results, the consequences, the repercussions of anything I do are unknowable, because only God, only Ishvara knows. And even if I get enough experience to believe, I think this is going to create conflict, or this is going to be a good action, it's still you did not get it because it's not under your control. Life is a series of such interactions that we have no real control. But body-mind should not be suppressed to avoid these interactions. It should rather be allowed to interact in such a way because you were designed for that. The body-mind, our inferior nature, the entity, the experiencing, knowing entity that finds itself in duality, transacting with otherness. It is unavoidable. My status is not affected by any transaction I have. This is good. A lot of people who does not understand such a mithya, they get confused when they see the guru transacting. But the status of the true guru is not affected by any transaction, by any event within the realm of mithya, the realm of Maya. Try to adjust all the images that we try to maintain belong to the Ahankara and Mamakara. So the images we have of ourselves, we want to be a great body, mind, sense complex, and trying to improve it and keep it, you know. This is a futile effort of the infantile Ahamkara, yeah, which thinks that this body, mind is mine, and my things are my things. All of these belong to Mithya, and we are different from all of these things, including the body-mind that experience ardennesses. We are the adisthanan, and when this is remembered without effort, firmly retained, we can still play along with the world, but the world will not seriously affect us. Again, Swami being as honest as he can be. Because we are a mixture of consciousness and metabolized energy. In the realm of my inferior nature as matter energy, everything is affecting everything else. That's the nature. But since I know that I'm not my inferior nature, fundamentally, I'm not my inferior nature as the body, mind, sense complex made up of matter and energy. Since I know I am consciousness, remembering that I am consciousness is going to largely minimize any serious effects of extreme adversities we may find in our lifetime, because you understood your true nature. And then you can just watch the show and things get tough. And then I said, that's all right, because, you know, nothing can really affect my true nature as limitless conscious existence. I'm okay with punya, I'm okay with papa. And if the apparent creator of this apparent order throw us collective a lot of papa, such as, you know, cataclysms or whatever, I take it all as Mithya Prasada, because I stand in Satya. And then I say, that's okay. It is what it is. All body minds may have to go through serious adversities collectively, but I don't take it seriously, and I'm not seriously affected because I'm properly established in consciousness as consciousness. The Mithya world does not have existence or origination, and to emphasize these two features is Ajativada. The Mithya world appears, and the appearance is due to Maya, and when these two features are emphasized, it's called Maya Jativada or Mithya Ajativada. So there is no creation. That's the theory of Ajativada. There is no origination of this cosmos. No. And once we attribute to this apparent origination, creation, to the power of Maya. And then we have what is sometimes referred to as Maya Ajativada theory. Nothing was created, but Maya make it appear so. Or Mithya Ajativada, which is the same thing. Gaudapada swings between these two teachings in Mandukya Karika. The dream world is the metaphor for Maya Jativada. So we know that something happens and we find ourselves dreaming. And my God, I mean, later on, I'm dreaming so much. You never know in this meteor world what's going to be next. Lately, I dream like crazy. I mean, a few weeks or months ago, I think I'm not dreaming anymore. Something is missing. and then it start boom, 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 boom. And I'm there like, oh my God, where it came from, and this one, and that one. So Gaudapada swings between and brings again and again the dream world as the best example, metaphor to explain the Maya, no origination of Maya, apparent origination of this cosmos. An additional information that Gaudapada gave in the sixth verse, second line, is that Maya Prapancha, that is born out of Maya, is beyond description. So we have seen it yesterday. We cannot understand how Maya does that. And what was the motivation, how it caused that. As one goes deeper and deeper into the analysis of the origination of this world, one will encounter only a gray, abstract, vague area. No description, definition can define this universe. The sentient and insentient differentiation is very clear at the gross macro level, but when we go into the analysis of matter at the micro level, the difference between sentient and insentient becomes fuzzy. Oh, what a beautiful hint being given here. So we see the difference between the seer and the seen. Yeah? We take a little time until we discover that there is no duality, because the seen is the seer. It's all happening in the mind of the seer. You know? The same way the dreamer is going to dream the world, and there is no separation between the dream world and the mind of the dreamer. So we have this distinction, the seer and the seen, the experiencer and the experienced. But now Swami brings here another beautiful distinction that he destroys with the help of scientific knowledge, saying that if you reanalyze on the micro level, the structure of the atom, you want to understand that there are no sentient and insentient beings. I like to call matter as beings as well. Insentient beings, inert beings. Why? Because there is existence there. And it appears to be insentient only when we look from the macro angle. But with help of scientific instruments, we look into anything that appears to be insentient, and we see it alive, vibrating, changing, moving in a vast space, micro space. There is nothing which is not alive. And then even the distinction between a sentient being like the jivas and the sentient matter cannot be really proved. When you really analyze it at that level, the micro level, there is no distinction between sentient and insentient. Everything is just an illusion. Our perception deludes us over and over again. Right, Mark?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's extraordinary. It's wonderful.
Extraordinary is the best possible word to describe it. Maya is a term used to represent this vagueness, abstraction, and incomprehension in regards to this projection. The vagueness is due to the fact that the world is only an appearance that changes from moment to moment. We can't really define anything because everything keeps changing. Even particle appears to be energy on the micro level and vice versa. Darkness is experienced, but when we analyze the nature of darkness, we understand that there is no darkness, there was just absence of light. The more the world is analyzed, the more mysterious, incomprehensible it becomes. Yet another meaning of mithya is this mystery. Probing too much into the world scientifically will only produce lots of confusion. It can be scientifically, but can be philosophically as well. Clarity in understanding is not possible if you do so. Probing into scientific explorations or philosophical explorations, looking for God particle. And then he brings, finally enough, the verse 61, the mind spins a seeming duality in the awakened state through the power of Maya, just as the mind spins a seeming duality in the dream through the same power of Maya. So we have Maya, that technically called Maya Shakti and Nidra Shakti, but it's all Maya. And the mind is going to spin a duality in the awakened state. It's very hard for us to accept that the mind is somehow what is the exactly meaning of the word spinning?
Yeah, to turn on its axis quite fast is to spin, or quite
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I wonder why they Gaudapada used this word. So the mind somehow spins, projecting a
Well,
scene.
so it's also like the firebrand when he was spinning the firebrand, creating the illusion of Maya.
That's very well remembered. Yeah, good reminder. Yeah. So we spin the tip of the incense, let's say, which was lit, and then we're going to see many patterns appearing. So the mind spins a seeming duality in the awakening state. So it's giving a lot of power to the mind. The mind is doing this, no? And it's doing that through what? Through Maya Shakti. But then he makes again the parallel with the dream state and say, exactly like the mind spins a seeming duality in the dream through the same super Maya. No? So Maya does that thing. The awaker may try to own that, to rob that. Oh, I project the dream world. No, Maya does project the dream world. We don't know when it's going to happen and what is going to come and how Maya does that. So we know that in the dream state, the Maya is going to produce the duality experiencer and objects of experience. And then the parallel is the mind does the same thing in the awakened state through the power of Maya as well. So it's easy for us to understand that the mind does that in the dream state through certain power that we don't understand. But it's tough for us to understand that the mind does the same thing in the awakened state through the power of mind, unless we resolve the mind in consciousness as consciousness. That's the only way to understand these statements when it brings about the we in the past we were making these these analogies and comparisons, no? To establish that the dream world is unreal and the waking world is as unreal. The dreamer is unreal and the awaker entity is unreal. And when we talk in terms of the awaker, no? When we say that he's unreal, we say that he's unreal as the body mind. But there is something real in the awaker. And the reality in that awaker is the mind. And the mind is something not apart from consciousness. Okay? Maya and mind needs to be resolved in consciousness as consciousness. That is the ultimate goal, called self-recognition, self-realization, self-knowledge, to understand the true nature of the mind as consciousness. So is consciousness really spinning this duality? Consciousness is apparently spinning an apparent duality in the awakened state of all jivas. And then we have said, then how this appearance occurs is the power of Maya. Maya brings about this. So who is to blame? Maya, if anything is to be blamed. We blame Maya. Why? Because consciousness, the true nature of the mind, is a karta, a bhokta, and it does not change, does not do anything. So consciousness, the only reality, is absolutely a karta. Therefore, it does not spin. Maya is going to spin its energies to produce this universe, physical material, which is experienced by the awaker. The same way Maya does it in the dream state. The non-dual mind alone is the seeming duality in the dream. There is no doubt. In the same way, the non-dual mind alone is the seeming duality in the awakened state. There is no doubt. So now he's just closing it. Before we are talking about the making these parallels to see if the dream world being unreal was enough indication that the awakening world was equally unreal. And now we are looking from a different angle now. We are looking from the angle of separatedness. Is there a separation between the mind of the dreamer and the dream world? No. The dream world resolves in the mind of the dreamer as the mind. So there is only the mind of the dreamer, and the dreamer world is just not a part or separate from the mind. It's a superimposition. The mind, in that sense, is a distant of the dream world. Yeah, the substratum in which, boom, the dream world spins. Yeah? In the same way, it is the non-dual mind alone that is seemingly spinning duality in the awakened state. What is and then that takes us back again to the teaching referred in Shine World, location of the object. Look, in the location of the object, we realize that everything is, of course, in the mind and not apart from the mind. You guys remember? So now we are talking about space. Is there a separation? Is there a duality? The mind of the dreamer and the dream world? No. There are no two things. There is only the mind alone. In the awakened state, there is only the mind. But here, again, he's going to use the term non-dual mind. He says that it's the same non-dual mind alone that allows Maya to spin its energies to produce the dream world, the non-dual mind. The same way the non-dual mind alone is the seeming alone is the seeming duality in the waking state. So there is no separation between the dream and the mind, and the waking world and the mind. Everything exists within the mind and not apart from mind. And the location of the universe, of the object teaching, serves to resolve the mind in consciousness. Once we have understood that everything is happening in the mind, and then we need to inquire, and what is the separation or distance between the mind and consciousness? And then the mind goes really like, oh my God, how I'm going to establish the separation, the distance between consciousness and this mind that I experience? No. In the dream world, the mind is the adhisthana. In the awake world, is the mind of the mind, which is limitless consciousness. Because there is no separation between the world, physical material, the mind of the awaker, and it's all a reflection in consciousness, or a projection upon consciousness. There is no doubt about that. For anybody who has put some work in this inquiry, trying to understand, not philosophically, but based on our experience, we know that there is something other than the mind, the thoughts, yeah? Our process of cognition. There is something which is the adhisthana, and we know that that something is non-dual. It's the same thing that operates in me, operates in Mark, in Sylvian, and everyone is non-dual, limitless consciousness. Anything that is non-dual is one without a second, can only be what? Limitless, yeah? Because it's free from space, and if you are free from space, you are free from time. Space depends on time, time depends on space. So our image is that these two verses, a reproduction of the previous verse. Here the word chitan is used, and the word manaha was used in the earlier verses. One mind alone gets divided into the observed duality in the dream state. So there is one mind, the mind of the dreamer, and then it splits to become what? The experiencer and the experience, the observer and the observed duality, but it's all happening in the non-dual mind. In the non-dual mind, duality appears in the dream state, observer and observed. But fundamentally is only the non-dual mind. Yeah? Similarly, once Maya gets divided into the observer, body, mind, sense complex, and the physical material observed universe in the awakened state, the awakened state is considered mithya, even though it has experience, field of transaction, and assessment of utilities, similar to the dream world, even though it also has UTU in the dream. The dream is real for the dreamer. The awaker state also seems to be real for the awaker. Just like the dream is known to be a dream upon awake, the awakening dream, yeah, we live our lives believing that this awakened world is something other than a dream. What is the meaning of a dream? A dream is something that seems to be an illusion, not real. So this world, the waking world, is similarly, likewise, it is a dream. But the awaker sees the dream and says, no way. I mean, I'm here and it has ETU. The dreamer also say, oh, no way. Imagine a waker goes there and say, oh, this is a dream, this is a dream. Sometimes we have this voice to wake us up in the dream. And in the beginning, the dreamer say, no way, it has ETU here. So just like the dream is known to be a dream upon awakening, or waking up, this awakening dream also will be known to be as such upon awaking up to one's true nature, our own real nature, the addistanam, the support, the consciousness, the non-dual consciousness on which duality is projected. Gaudapada highlights one more point about the dream state in the following five verses that has not been discussed yet. I think he's referring to maybe more and more the non-separatedness between the mind and the duality projected upon the mind. Moving about in dream, 63. Moving about in dream, the dreamer constantly sees varieties of beings, born of eggs, born of moisture, etc., existing in all of the 10 quarters. So we'll need the help of Swamiji to understand this. Those beings which are objects of the dreamer mind do not exist apart from that mind. Yeah. Similarly, the mind of the dreamer is accepted to be the object of that dreamer only. It's so easy for us to understand that when we remember those statements, that the dream world, I'm just experiencing my mind, the content of my mind. Is the mind experience itself. So the mind of the dreamer is the object of experience of the dreamer in the dream state. I'm experiencing what? My vasanas, my mind, the content of my mind. No? There is consciousness there as the real adhistanam, but the mind serves as a apparent adhistanam in which the objects appear. But the mind is just experience itself. There is no division, experiencer, experience, there is only the mind experience itself. Right? And that when we just, how to say, we extrapolate that to the final teachings, we have to remember another statement that anything that happens in this world is consciousness experience itself. Because there is only consciousness. In the awakened state, consciousness is there. And consciousness appears as the knower and the non-experiencer and the experienced. Right? But fundamentally, there is only consciousness experience itself. Yeah? Once Maya projects or superimposes this fundamental duality, the knower and the known. I mean, it gives us a hint of how important the jivas are, especially the jiva atma, the knower and the experience of this cosmos. Moving about in the awakened state, the awaker constantly sees various beings born of eggs, born of moisture, existing in all quarters. But this is the verse 63, huh? Why it appears now as the verse 65? No, but the 63 are moving about in the dream. The dreamer constantly sees. Now, moving about in the awakened state, the awaker constantly sees otherness, other beings born of different souls, eggs, moisture, or whatever. Existing in all 10 quarters. I want to see what these 10 quarters refer to. Have you figured it out, Lynn? Those beings which are objects of the awaker's mind do not exist apart from the awaker's mind, from the mind itself. Similarly, the mind of the awaker is accepted to be the object of experience of the awaker. The awaker is experience its own mind. And this has a double meaning to it. Because the mind of the awaker experience fundamentally the elements, the gunas and the elements. But the gunas and elements do not mean anything unless I attribute utility to whatsoever I am experiencing, which are fundamentally just the elements. But they are going to be constituted in so many different modes that I will keep attributing utility and value to all of these things. The mind of the awaker is the object of experience of the awaker. So the mind is experience, it is pratibhasika reality. The way it sees, finds utility and value of the things is an interaction between the 5 elements and my likes and dislikes of the namarupas superimposed upon these 5 elements. Right, Lynn? So on the more profound meaning is the mind is not only experience its Vyavaharika, but the mind of the mind, the non-dual mind, is experience itself not as Pratibhasika, but Paramatika, Satyam, the only reality. So as if consciousness, the true nature of the mind, experience itself in spite of all superimpositions of Namarupas by the power of Maya. The world does not exist apart from the mind. The world does not exist apart from consciousness. Every experience we have is experience of consciousness, experience itself through an instrument called the mind. And if the mind is not properly purified and refined, the experience will be unpleasant. But if the mind, which is the instrument by which consciousness experiences itself, if it is properly refined and purified, it's going to experience its true nature as limitless consciousness. Both of them are mutually perceived, the object and the mind itself. The world and the mind are perceived in consciousness. Does either of them exist, the mind and the world? No. Thus, it is said, both of them are not properly definable, cannot be definable, undefinable. It's vague, abstract. We experience the world and we experience the mind that experiences the world, but, what I'm going to make of it? Are they real? The world and the mind that experience the world? The scriptures say no. Therefore, both of them are seen as undefinable, but definitely not real. And then he says, we take them to be real, the mind that perceives the world and the world, because of the notion of otherness. Every time the mind appears, it appears with otherness. Otherness is what brings about duality. The knowledge that really liberates is I am consciousness, one without other, one without otherness. one without the second. But once I appear as the awaker, otherness, yeah, aham and midam, the world, the other. The other means everything other than the mind. The mind perceives the world. So the notion of otherness is built into the system. Maya deludes everybody to see otherness, duality, I and the world. It's unavoidable. But it is a notion. That's what this text is pointing to. That is a notion. We fell for the notion that there is something other than myself because consciousness, through the power of Maya, projects what? The fundamental duality. The mind is the experiencing entity and the objects that occur within the mind. This notion of duality is the most fundamental deceiving notion projected by Maya, this fundamental duality, the experiencer and the experience, the knower and the known. This notion is there, and we need to neutralize that notion in spite of our constant experience of othernesses by understanding this knowledge that reveals what is behind sensory perception. There is only consciousness, and this notion of duality must be neutralized by the firm understanding of the true nature of reality as non-duality. Therefore, how come we experience this duality? Oh, don't try to understand it. It's undefinable. It's impossible for us to understand. We blame Maya for that. The fact is that the mind and the world are experienced by you all the time. Therefore, we say you experience the mind and the world at all times as if you experience yourself or experience the projections that are occurring. Just imagine if the screen in the cinema would become sentient, would be there experience all kinds of projections with a firm certainty that, I experience all of these, all the actors and all the experience of the actors, but I'm free and independent from otherness. There is only I consciousness, the mind of the mind. Told you that this Mandukya Karya becomes more and more beautiful towards the end. Eileen, are you still with us? In verse 63 and 64, Gaudapada analyzes the dream from the standpoint of the dream and makes one or two observations that will be extended to the awakened state later on. In the dreamer is very much a part of the dream, which is experience dream. Everything in the dream world with a dream body and mind. In the dream, it all appears to be real, similarly to what is found in the awakened state. The dreamer travels and experiences varieties of the living beings different from himself, but he does not know that they are his own self, his own creation, his own projection. So we experience division, separation, duality. Therefore, it appears to be real. The sense of otherness is what gives us a sense of reality. And otherness, as I just said, is just due to the perception of the superimposition superimposition produced or projected by Maya. The namarupas, the names and forms of gold, and gold alone. The dreamer travels, experience, but its own mind, its own project. Gaudapada describes the different types of living beings based on the scriptures qualifications as all the living beings with born out of an egg or microorganism born in humid atmosphere, beings born out of womb, plants and trees that come out of the earth, the underground world, beautiful. The dreamer experienced these beings as different from himself, even though he is the only one dreaming. There is only the dreamer's mind, but there is a sense of otherness, duality. When the dreamer experiences varieties of objects, the dreamer has an internal thought corresponding to the experienced object. The dreamer has an internal thought corresponding to the experienced object that appears to be external with respect to the dream body. There is a sense of objectivity. There is an objective experience, as Swami Paramarthananda said when Mark presented to him my doubt, my question. There is a sense of external thing happening, and I'm having an objective experience. The dream body is there. The dream consists of two components, the external object and the corresponding internal thoughts in respect to the object. After waking up, the awakened knows that the object is unreal. But in the dream, during the dream, both the object and the thought of the object, now he's breaking it down, the experience of the dreamer, as the mind producing the object and the corresponding thought of the object. We know that any and all objects have always a thought standing and representing that object. The object and the thought of object, they appear simultaneously. So after awaking, the awaker knows that the object is unreal, but in dream, both are considered to be real. On awaking, both of them are known to be mithya. But the dreamer experienced both the object and the thought of object simultaneously in the dream. The object is called drishan, and the thought is called chitam. All dream objects put together is called Svapna Papancha, the dream world. It's so beautiful. My wonderness of the beauty of the scriptures is always surprising me, you know? It's very touching. All the dream objects put together is called Svapna Prapancha, the dream world. And all the dream thoughts put together is called Svapna Chitam. Both of them are projected by one awaker's mind only. So now he's saying that it's the awaker's mind that somehow holds its vasanas collected, developed, cultivated during the awakened state, and the awaker mind is going to project the objects and the thoughts of objects in the dream world. But after waking up, the awaker realized that there was no dreaming world and there was no thoughts in regards to the dream. Both of them do not exist separate from the observer. Everything resolves itself in consciousness, the witnessing conscious principle. Gaudapada stands this to the awakened state as all the objects of the world, Jagrata, Drishyam, and all the corresponding thoughts are projected by Maya Shakti. I, the observer, am experiencing both the thoughts and the objects. I, consciousness, am experiencing both the thoughts and consciousness is not an experiencing entity. How can you say I can experience? With the aid of the mind, I experience both worlds. The thoughts and the objects of all dimensions, orders of reality, both the world and the thoughts in regards to the world are projected by one Maya, which is Shakti Chaitanya, or Shakti, the Shakti of Turiya, or Maya, the Maya of Turiya. By my Maya Shakti alone, I project both the waking world and the awaking mind. The awaking mind that captures the awaking world, which are objects of my experience. And how you experience it? Through an object of experiencing. It's all very subtle. Need to get a very subtle mind to understand these teachings. When I say that I'm free, the mind should not be included. I use the mind, but it should not be included because there is no such a thing as a free mind. There is only free and independent consciousness experienced through the mind. The mind is part of the awakened world. And so I cannot have full control over the body-mind. When I say I am free, I should never include the mind, the body-mind, and the world. Those are superimpositions upon myself, and they depend on me, therefore they are not free. When I say I'm free as the adjustment of both the body-mind and the world. When I claim I am free, the I must be referred to as Turiya Atma. Therefore, use the mind to claim your glory, but do not depend on it to experience freedom, but through the mind, you're going to know you are moksha, you are freedom. But you are not going to experience freedom, but you're going to have an experience in which adversity is greatly minimized by this Atmayana. And Swamiji is inspired, he keeps going. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I have to go to town today and do a few things, have lunch with Sylvia. And we come back to this wonderful text next Monday. When you claim, I am free, limitless consciousness, know that that refers to your true nature as free, limitless consciousness. But it's so interesting to see at times the mind claim that as the body-mind sense complex, the dynamics that unfold, that a commentary of both of you, in regards to Guru Unima, I wrote something, a satsang in my Brazilian group, and for my surprise, not really surprise, but I was like, oh my God, there was quite a few people say, no, it's wonderful. We have great appreciation because now I got moksha, I got self-knowledge, and when people claim it publicly, usually you must suspect that that may not be really the case because the ego likes to do that, especially when it has opportunity to do it publicly. So we do it quietly, only for ourselves. We claim, I use the mind, this beautiful instrument, to claim my glory, my freedom, my independence. This is total freedom. I claim it for myself. I don't propagandize this to anybody. How am I going to mention that to some of my students without hurting their ego? So I cannot say much. Right, Mark? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishade. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. We meet again this coming Friday with the Gita. I'm going to talk about Nijijasana there. Much love.
Thanks, Arlindo.
Beautiful satsang. Thank you, Arlindo.
Thank you. Thank
Wonderful
you
stuff.
for you all.